One of my favorite video games of all time is New Super Mario Bros. For the DS. And even though the New Super Mario Bros. Series has gained quite the reputation over the years, the original one is still probably one of the best games in the entire series. I'd say on par with New Super Luigi U, which is ironically enough the last New Super Mario Bros. Game. I don't count New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, that is a terrible port and it should never exist. New Super Mario Bros. DS differs a lot from the rest of the series, with it currently being the only game in the entire series to have a bit of originality and shares aspects from 3D Mario. Now yes, New Super Mario Bros. Wii also shares some originality, but it becomes blended after 2 and U was released. DS still has concepts that have never really returned since then, and if they somehow do, they're usually being used sparingly. You won't see enemies like Snailicorns or those fucking horrifying fish, or bosses like the Mummy Pokey, and even fan favorites like Petey Piranha. That's like the most left field pick you could choose for a little Ice World boss, but hey, I'll dig it. Even some of the level design and theming are actually quite creative in a lot of ways. With all that being said though, there's one world that does have a clear theming going around it. However, it feels a lot more mixed with its ideas and it doesn't feel organized that well. The world in question I'm talking about is World 6. Now at a first glance you might be thinking, well, what's wrong with World 6? It looks perfectly fine to me. And you know what? I don't blame you. However, when you really think about it, World 6 probably has some of the most strangest level concepts I've ever seen in a Mario game. And while at a first glance it doesn't seem like a big deal, future entries of the New Super Mario Bros. Series has mountain worlds that just strictly stick to that theme alone with some variety thrown in between. So why do I feel this way? Why do I think that World 6 is one of the strangest mountain worlds in the entire series in comparison to its brethren? Well, I'll explain why in this video. And to make things a bit more simplified and, not as complicated, I won't be explaining all of the levels in depth. I'm just going to be pointing out details about the levels that I feel like are either interesting or just kind of confusing. So with that being said, let's get this video started. Now when it comes to the world structure in New Super Mario Bros., the world themes are generally more on the safe side, and for the time being, it was kind of acceptable. Considering that the 2D Mario games have been very dormant since the Game Boy era, it makes sense for the return of that formula to keep things a bit more simple. Of course, given the future of the series, this is just a general trope and it's just kind of boring. But again, for the time, this was pretty acceptable. Now, unlike most world structures in Mario games, this one feels weird. You see, the way it was handled was pretty different. Worlds 4 and 7 are treated like secret worlds, so the typical route you would normally take without using the mini mushroom strategy is Worlds 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 8. It's pretty awkward and weird, but it's a Nintendo decision. I don't think I'll understand why they made it like that. However, given the worlds before World 6, they all follow a pretty similar theme. Well, I mean, the only exception is World 3, which is a bit more of a interesting discussion in and of itself, but I'm not really going to discuss about it. All you need to know is that World 3 doesn't feel like a beach, it just feels like a bunch of underwater compilations. When we get to World 6, at a first glance, yes, this is pretty much a mountain world. You got the mountains in the background, you got some rock formations, it's clearly just a mountain world. However, this is where things get a bit more strange and complicated. The first level is pretty much just what it is, a mountain level. I mean, it's pretty basic in concept, and they use bullet bills as the main primary enemies, which, nothing wrong there. I feel like bullet bills fit best at, mountain worlds, but it's pretty basic, and there's not much interesting that could be said about this level. However, even before you start the first level, there's already a split path ahead, and it takes you to the first of many levels that are just weird. World 6A is a desert level, but has the mountain backdrop. Now, I don't know about you, but this does not feel like a World 6 level. I mean, there's still some rock formation, but it doesn't necessarily feel like it comes from World 6. More so, it feels like it came from World 2 than anything else. And that's saying something, because the level itself has a lot going on for it. In fact, it's the only level that has these twisters, and, that's really about it. There really isn't much for me to go over for this, save for that one star coin that was actually kind of clever, but a bit more cryptic. I don't think it's cryptic, but you could probably see it as cryptic if you want to think of that. However, once you can join back, the second level is honestly kind of chill. It's a water level, but not in your traditional sense, as it rises up and down, and it's not my favorite. I find it a little bit more slow and frustrating, but you know, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. Although I would question why something like this would belong in World 6, but considering that there's a level similar to that in New Super Mario Bros. Wii, I don't think I should be that surprised. And then immediately after that, we're hit to our first tower. And unlike the rest of the other worlds, this is the first world to have two towers. Or actually, it's one of two worlds that has that. The first one is practically just, it uses skewers. And that's all I gotta say about it. Although, honorable mention to this awful star coin that is just agonizing. Like, who thought this was a good idea? I actually got cramped when I had to get that star coin in the footage. But after that, you're immediately hit with the next level being a jungle? I mean, I guess there could be jungles and mountains, but again, this doesn't feel like something from World 6. In this case, it feels like something from World 4, and if you're playing the game without any acknowledgement of how to get to World 4, you're probably going to be a little bit more confused. But I digress. This level is just weird in and of itself. You got these question blocks that are just hung up by string. You got money bags just jumping around. You got this entire maze section that you can just destroy with the mega mushroom. This level's weird. I don't know why. It's just very weird. These blocks are the only ones that are interesting. And what? Okay, before I lose my mind, the next level is back to the mountains. Oh, finally, some semblance. This is the second one in like, what, 3 levels after? Not counting the tower level? And they use fire bars, which, much like the water level, it would feel a bit odd, but considering it's a general theme in New Super Mario Bros. U, I don't think I should be that surprised. However, immediately after, we're hit to Tower 2. And Tower 2 is a conveyor belt level. Okay. Typically, I don't count the tower levels because they don't really connect to any sort of theming. Although I will note that this level is the first one that uses Bowser Jr.'s new mechanic, which you wouldn't even realize was a new mechanic if you didn't unlock World 4. This game is weird. Immediately afterwards, you're hit to another split path. Above is a underwater level, which, you know, I'll give it a pass, it's acceptable. But then down is an ice level, and it's not like they attempted to make it look unique and be like mountainly snow like most other mountains. No, this is just a literal ice level, and it's pretty weird and wacky. I don't get it. There's 3 levels that feel like belong in different worlds, all compressed into the same one. I don't get it. However, the last one is definitely a mountain level. And this one is probably the most interesting one because not only is it the only appearance of the Chain Chomp, but it's very vertical and it's kind of fun to maneuver around. And it's kind of satisfying to just bring all the blocks with these like, spin platforms? I think they have a name. I'm not too sure. And then after all of that, you enter the castle, which is pretty much one of the more difficult ones, I gotta say. I remember as a kid, I struggled with this level a lot. I don't know why, it's just really hard for me to traverse through, and there are definitely moments where I feel like I should have gotten crushed, but I didn't. This also happens to be what used to be one of my least favorite bosses, the Monty Molting. That was just simply because I don't know how to game and just not use the bullet bills as, you know, supporting jump boosts, but, well, whatever. This boss is really cool in its entirety. Although I do find it weird that this is the only appearance of the Monty Mole, and it's weird that they gave a basic enemy such a pivotal point, but hey, then again, Monty Mole's a literal racer in Mario Kart Tour, so I don't think I should complain that much. And then after that, yep, you're straight on to World 8. And that was pretty much all that World 6 had to offer. And even though I explained all the levels in short detail, there was a common theme that came around when I discussed them all. For every level that feels like it sticks to its theme, there's another one that feels like it came from a different world entirely. And I know that it's only like 3 levels that have this distinct feature, but if you really want to count the underwater level and the beach level, then yeah, World 6 has probably the most inconsistent level themes I've ever seen, more so than World 3, and the only reason why I didn't make that one the central point of the video is honestly because the majority of it is water level, and that fits for the beach, I guess, even though it feels misleading. But another factor as to why I feel this way relates to the rest of the games. Yes, even New Super Mario Bros. 2 to an extent. Games after New Super Mario Bros. DS has the mountain world be focused mostly on the mountain aspect. High cliffs, you're into the skies. There's some odd levels on the occasion, mostly on Wii though. The rest of them are pretty much your standard, and there's not much else. Again, there's some variety levels in some of the games, but that's about it. Even in New Super Mario Bros. 2, the mountain level is fairly consistent and it does take place in the sky, so I'll give that one a pass. The DS version is a little bit more experimental and a bit awkward when you look at it in the perspective of the rest of the other worlds like it. But does that make it really that bad? Honestly, no. It just shows a weird quirk with New Super Mario Bros. DS that no other games in the series share. It's weird quirkiness. The boss concepts, levels, enemies, and even worlds to an extent has some odd creative ideas that you don't typically expect to see in other Mario games. Well, I mean, not usually, but that's besides the point. Overall, World 6 itself isn't a bad world, but I find it very inconsistent with how it's been treated. There are like 3 mountain levels in the world, and the rest of them are either just kind of filler, or they're World 6B. So there's that going for it. But hey, we can all reminisce at the memory that this sand secret is probably one of the coolest things you'll ever see in this entire game. That was probably the worst way I could have ended a video like this, but I'd like to thank you all for watching regardless. This video idea just kind of came out of random, and I'm not sure what compelled me to make a video like this, but it does give me a breather from all of the Mario Kart videos I've been doing recently, which probably won't stop, seeing that Wave 3 will be released next week as of this recording. So for that Smash Bros video that I made on that poll, that will probably have to be on hold until that review gets done. And when that gets done, I'm not too sure, just judging by how late I've been to about 2 of the waves. I probably would say it's probably going to be the same thing as that. With all that being said, once again, thank you all for watching, and remember that Stu cares about you. Fun fact, did you know that snail corns have fucking lips? These things have lips. I want to get rid of those lips. These are horrifying.